Hello students, welcome to part 15 of part 16 of the solid state chapter. We will continue with the metal crystal defects. Okay, so yesterday we saw two types of defects, that is stoichiometric defects and non-stoichiometric defects, right? So under stoichiometric defect we saw what do you mean by vacancy defect, what do you mean by interstitial defect, Schottky defect and Frankel defect. You know what they are, correct? Now we will be looking at and you also saw what are the non-stoichiometric defects. The non-stoichiometric defects are those which leads to change in the composition of the solids. That was non-stoichiometric, right? So under that you saw the metal excess defect, and now we will see the metal deficiency defect. So metal deficiency is the type of defect which arises generally when a metal shows variable valency. What is variable valency? Valency is the electrons in the outermost shell, correct? But variable valency means the metals showing variable valency means the metals which can show a variety in the oxidation states. Which metals show variety in the oxidation states? The transition metals. Mostly the transition metals show variable oxidation states. This you have learned in the D block elements. Okay, so by the statement arises when metal shows variable valency means when a metal shows a variety of oxidation state like +1, +2, +3, +4, +7 like manganese or iron or cobalt. All these elements come in the transition elements, right? So this now why this happens? It happens due to the missing of cation from its lattice site and the presence of the cation having higher charge in the adjacent lattice site. Okay, so what happens is a cation, okay, if a cation is present in its normal lattice position and in its neighborhood if there is a cation with a higher charge, okay, then this cation, the normal one, will adjust itself in the adjacent lattice site. Okay, so the example for this is ferrous oxide, which is mostly which is comprised of iron, and iron shows variable oxidation states. Okay, so in a crystal of ferrous oxide what happens? Some Fe2 plus ions, cations, are missing and the loss of positive charge is made up by sum of Fe3 plus ions. So in place of this Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus ions will come. Okay, so this is what is meant by metal deficiency defect. The last type of defects which we'll be looking at are the impurity defects. Now as per the name you can make out that in this category we are talking about impurities, correct? Now here this is a diagram of the NaCl crystal, that is sodium chloride crystal. Okay, now if molten sodium chloride containing a little amount of SrCl2, strontium chloride, is crystallized, some of the sites of sodium ions are occupied by Sr2 plus. So as you can see here you have Na plus Cl minus, Na plus Cl minus. So if this molten means in the liquid form, if it is heated with a little amount of strontium chloride, which is another salt, then what will happen? Some of the sites of Na plus, this will be occupied by Sr2 plus. Okay, now what will be the ratio of the occupancy? Each Sr2 plus replaces two Na plus ions. It occupies the site of one ion and the other site remains vacant. So here as you can see this is the vacant site and this is one site which it occupies. Okay, the cationic vacancies thus produced are equal in number to that of Sr2 plus ions. Okay, and another example of this is the solid solution of cadmium chloride and silver chloride. Okay, so understood what is meant by impurity defects. Only this one example, if you remember, it is more than enough. Okay, so along with this last impurity defects, we are done with the part of crystal defects in solids. Okay, so now you know about three types of defects, right? First is stoichiometric defect, second is non-stoichiometric defect, and third is impurity defects. Stoichiometric defect means what? Stoichiometric defect means which does not affect the stoichiometry or the molecular formula or the ratio between the cations and anions. That is stoichiometry. Under that we saw vacancy defect, interstitial defect, Schottky defect and Frenkel defect, right? Second category was non-stoichiometric defects, which lead to change in the composition of solids, right? And under that you saw metal excess defect, metal deficiency defect. Under metal excess you saw two types, due to anionic vacancies, due to cationic vacancies. Under that, those two definitions you have to remember. What are F centers, okay, and what is doping. Under metal deficiency defect, the example of ferric oxide you have to remember. Okay, then the third type was impurity defect, which we just saw, and impurity defect, the definition and the example of sodium chloride and strontium chloride you have to remember, and along with this diagram if you represent, it will be all the more better. Okay, and now we will move on to electrical properties of solids. Okay, so now we have two subtopics remaining. One is the electric properties and one is magnetic properties. Okay, coming to electric properties. Now you know what is the meaning of electric properties. When I say electric, means what? How good or how better it can conduct electricity, correct? So when we talk about solids, one of the important properties is how good can it conduct electricity, because what are we interested in? We are interested in making new and more efficient solids, correct? So that for that basically you have to study about the electric properties. Okay, so if we categorize solids into based on their property to conduct electricity, we have three types. We have conductors, we have semiconductors, and we have insulators, right? Now, what are conductors? You know these definitions. Conductors are those solids which conduct electricity very well. Okay, semiconductors means half. Semi is half. So, semiconductors means which do not conduct electricity that well. Okay, they do conduct but half. And insulators are those which are totally resistant to electricity. So the values of these are given in terms of conductivity. The definition of conductivity you know, right? So there is a certain value for a certain range of conductivity for conductors, semiconductors and insulators, which is given, based on which we can decide whether it is a conductor or a non-conductor. Okay, so the solids which with conductivity ranging from 10 to 4 to 10 to 7 per ohms per meter are conductors. Semiconductors will have the value 10 raised to minus 6 to 10 raised to 4. And insulators will be having 10 raised to minus 20 to 10 raised to minus 10. These are the conductivity values of each of them. Based on that, you will, if a value is given, you can tell whether it is a semiconductor or a conductor. Fine. Now, conduction of electricity means what? When we say a solid conducts electricity, what does it exactly do? Why electricity passes? You have learned this in your 10th standard class, right? In the electricity chapter, that electricity conduction occurs due to movement of electrons. So when a metal has free electrons present in it, only then it will conduct electricity or it will be a good conductor. So first thing is movement of electrons, and movement of electricity is opposite to that of the movement of electrons, right? And second point is the movement of ions. So movement of ions, when we say, we are talking about electrolytic conductors, the liquid ones like copper sulfate, ferrous sulfate, okay? So those used in the electrolytic cell, for example. So when we say movement of electrons, we are talking of metallic conductors, and when we are saying movement of ions, we are saying electrolytic conductors, okay? Okay. Have a look at this diagram. Okay, this diagram represents conduction bands. What is conduction bands? We will see in a moment. Okay. Now, when I say metals, okay, just focus on metals at the moment. Okay. When I say metals, they conduct electricity in a solid state as well as in a fusion state, that is a molten state. Okay, the liquid state. Now, what does its conductivity depend upon? As I said, the conductivity depends on the number of valence electrons available per atom. How many electrons every atom will contribute, that will determine how much electricity it will conduct. Now, the atomic orbitals of the metal atoms, what they will do is, they form molecular orbitals. Okay, correct? An atom, when it is combining with another atom, it will form a molecular orbital which are too close in terms of energy to each other. Okay, now this the black blocks kind of which are represented here, they are bands. This is hypothetical representation. Okay, they are not necessarily shaped like this. This is just for your understanding. Now what happens when we talk about a single atom and when we talk about its molecule, it is different. The hybridization occurs, right? The molecular atomic orbitals are converted into molecular orbitals, right? Now, the atomic orbitals of metal atoms form molecular orbitals which are very close in terms of energy to each other, so that it forms a band. Okay, so what happens in metals? This band is partially filled or overlaps with a high energy unoccupied conduction band. Getting my point? So what happens here is, electrons of the valence band can flow easily to the conduction band under an applied electrical field, and hence the metals show conductivity. Okay, so here in under metals, when we say, metals can either have the partially filled band or overlapping bands. Why? Because now this black and white is what? It is the atomic orbital and molecular orbital overlap. Okay, so this what do you say? This band and this band, they are either very close or they are overlapping with each other. Understood? So that makes the transfer of electrons very easily. Understood? So under insulators, what happens is, there is a large energy gap between the valence band, the filled valence band, and the conduction band. That is the next high energy unoccupied band. Thus, the electrons cannot jump from the valence band to the conduction band under the applied electrical field, and hence this behaves as an insulator. And semiconductor, the gap is a little intermediate between this and this. Okay, so you understood the meaning of metals, insulators and semiconductors. Okay, metals here represent conductors. Okay, so this is about conduction of electricity in metals. In our next video, we will be discussing about the conduction of electricity in semiconductors Under that we will be looking at N-type and P-type of semiconductors. Okay, followed by magnetic properties. So I will end this video here. If you have not understood, you can ping me or you can watch the video again. Okay, thank you.